Welcome to the Building Texas Business Podcast, where we share stories of leadership, innovation, and success from business leaders who know what it takes to build great organizations. Building Texas Business is brought to you by Boyer Miller, providing counsel beyond expectations. Learn more about how Boyer Miller helps businesses navigate opportunity and growth with clarity and confidence at boyermiller.com. Now, here's your host, Chris Hanslik.
In this episode, you will meet Levi Goode, a fifth-generation Texan and CEO of Goode Company Restaurant Group. Levi shares the story of his family business and how it's grown over the last 49 years, as well as stressing the importance of leaders taking time to reflect on their successes and failures in order to improve and grow. Levi, welcome to Building Texas Business. I can't think of a better guest for a podcast called Building Texas Business than you and what you're doing with Goode Company and all the concepts you have.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. It's been, I know we've been trying to get on the schedule quite a bit, quite a long time. So glad to be here today.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it worked out. Let's just start. You always think you're familiar with what someone does, but it's better to hear it from them. So just, tell us a little bit about, what your company does, what you're known for. I know you've been growing and expanding, and just give us a little kind of overview of that.
Sure. So this is our 49th year in business. My mother and father started with our Goode Company barbecue restaurant back in 1977. So we've got a big 50-year milestone coming up on us here.
Well, that'll be exciting to celebrate.
Going into next year. So excited about that. It's a family business. My father was a commercial graphic designer prior to jumping into the restaurant business, and he was wanting to get out of being in the commercial arts business. He kind of was known as the guy that get a job at 5 p.m. and work all night and spin it around by 9 a.m. the next day. And primarily his customers were ad agencies back in the 70s, and they'd always beat him up on the price after he didn't work. So he just kind of got tired of the grind and wanted to pursue something he was passionate about, and so he kind of looked towards his hobbies, and one was backyard barbecue, and the other one was bay saltwater fishing.
Okay.
So he's either going to open a bait camp or a barbecue restaurant. And
I think you made the right call.
Yeah, faithfully enough, he opened a barbecue spot. Our location there on Kirby was a barbecue restaurant prior to us getting into it, and was right around the corner from his studio. So long to short, it was a all hands in kind of family affair. I was very young at the time, and I have an older sister that was also along for the ride, and it was kind of our after school playground, and my parents wore many hats, kind of getting that going and off the ground. So I grew up in the business, kind of doing just about everything from top to bottom. I used to wash dishes on the top of a milk crate, because I wasn't tall enough to reach over the triple sink. And just kind of grew up in it, strongly on the operational side. Then with school, went to Texas A&M, and then went to chef school thereafter. Worked in leadership in our business for quite some time, and took over about 20 years ago as president. And and so just feel like it's just such a strong, not only commitment, but obligation for everybody that has had a hand in the last 49 years, and that's on both sides of the plate. That's, our team members at Goode Company that were here before us, and the ones that remain and will be forthcoming as we continue to grow and jump into the next decade. And then also the community has just been so strong over the years and super supportive. So it's really good to kind of, have a place in the community where, people go for different things.
Yeah.
They go there just on a weekly basis because it's comfort food to them, but they also celebrate milestones. And those are, whether it's mourning the loss of a loved one, or, first love, or whatever it may be. We really enjoy that we are a gathering spot and able to be a facilitator of human connection on that front.
I love that. Well, what's unique in my view is that Good Company and what your dad started, what you're carrying on is clearly in the Mount Rushmore of restaurants, like royalty, if you will, in Houston, because y'all have been around forever. You're known for like good quality, good meeting space. People have grown up, right? You grew up in it, and you have friends that grew up, and that's what childhood memories, and they carry them on. I I don't know if there's a better tribute probably to your dad and that legacy. And talk a little bit about that transition of you taking over. Never really met your dad, but got to believe he was, a powerful figure and probably, commanded a room. And how did y'all work and navigate that? Because there's other family businesses and people trying to navigate that. Some do it better than others, and looks like y'all did it pretty well.
Yeah, family business is just it's a dynamic thing, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's hard to kind of do a master plan for. At least it was for us at the time. And all the while, you have different emerging skill sets, whether it's through hard knocks education or book education from going to school. But really, there's no substitute for experience. And so, really, working with him, he was a larger than life figure. I'd like to consider him a legend in the Houston community. He was known as a man that was very generous, heavy heart, and also just took care of people.
Yeah.
Whether it's people that helped us build this business and worked with us, or just helping the community. Even to this day, then week didn't go by where somebody didn't tell me a story about my dad. So, entering the business as a young adult, big shoes to fill.
Sure.
And fortunately, I had a chance to work quite a few years with him at the time. He always gravitated to the creative side, and whether he focused that energy on creating recipes. He was a self-taught chef, so a lot of our recipes in our restaurants, they were developed by him,
Okay.
and still hold true to this day. So, and he taught me he taught me the way he did things, and he was a non-conformist would be probably a good way to define him. He was a free thinker. He liked to kind of blaze his own trail. He had an interesting way of problem solving and really kind of evaluating challenges and issues, and kind of leveraging up his creative skill set to be able to create solutions for those challenges, which are inevitable and ongoing.
Come
So
on every day, don't
that's
they?
right. So it's ongoing. I mean, I feel fortunate that get to stand on the shoulders of those before us, and really be the steward of the brand, and really kind of the cultural champion to ensure that our vision is aligned and moving forward in a positive yet enduring direction.
I would bet it was important for you. You talked about doing dishes and those things when you were little, but when you were coming in as a young adult, gone away to college, culinary school, whatever, that everyone saw you willing to roll up your sleeves and do the dirty work, not just come in as the son of the founder and the owner and just kind of step right into acting like the boss, right?
Yeah.
And earning that respect. And uh, any stories you can tell about that, or experiences that you could share that how that really maybe helped you be part of the culture and maybe then become the champion moving forward.
Sure. I mean, my father was he was not easy on a son from the work ethic standpoint. So, he was he went to the Navy, fought in the Vietnam War. So he had a yeah, he wanted to make sure that I understood, and that he ran me through the ringer as far as building work ethic, and really kind of developing just basic ways to approach dealing with people, running a
Yeah.
business. Um, you know, our most important asset of everything by far is our team, our people, and if you don't have the respect of them, it's hard to be a leader. I mean, that's first and foremost. You have to have that as a prerequisite, and
Sure.
that's you got to earn their trust, and you got to be able to understand. Uh, yeah, I don't know if we can say bad words here, but you got to make sure
you're able to, yeah.
want to make sure nobody's bullshitting you. You got to know how to do it yourself,
Right.
and be able to hold that standard. So, fortunately, I was able to get into the business at a young age, and you know, evolve that leadership over time.
So you've obviously you took over, and going off just memory, there was a barbecue, there was seafood, taqueria.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Armadillo Palace maybe was our, part of that, but you've really expanded since then. I would think as you look on to take on those new concepts, it's almost like starting a new business. Let's talk a little bit, because there's entrepreneurs out there thinking about starting a business. What are some of the things that you do to evaluate the risk versus reward of, okay, it's time for that, or what are some of the growing pains you've seen in starting some of those new concepts, and what have you learned from that?
Yeah. So, for better or for worse, I like to try to keep a balance of, you know, doing the same thing when we look at concepts versus, starting with a blank canvas and doing something new. I've whether I inherited it or not, I've always had a strong sense and desire to be creative and to create new things. I'm just kind of industrious in that way.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably to the dismay of my teams, like, Levi, can we just do the same thing like a couple times before we go jump off into something new or even a new category like we did with Credence? But that's just, it's one of those things that I really enjoy, is the journey, and really kind of, pushing our competency. Let's see how far we can go,
Yeah.
and just enjoy the ride along the way. And we're going to learn new things about it as well. And some of those learnings can be painful from time to time, but I also think it really allows us to individually and collectively just kind of, stretch a little bit, stretch our capabilities, and build confidence and rapport amongst our teams. And at the end of the day, you don't really know. We do things we like, and we're looking for good projects that we want to get involved in, and we want to move at the pace of um, our talent and what we're feeling like we're capable of achieving. I mean, we definitely have some scale in mind as we go, but only at the speed that we feel like we can do that
Yeah.
in the proper way, and still preserve our reputation and our brand that's been built over many decades.
Well, it sounds like part of that culture you built is a culture of maybe taking some risk, being creative, trying new things. There's lots of sayings around change, but change is good if it's done right. And I think, to your point, if you can instill that in your people, where you encourage them to take a chance, and there's going to be no retribution, right? We're going to learn and adapt and adjust along the way. No one's got a crystal ball, but if you want to grow, then you've got to be willing to take some chances.
100%. And we've got a saying in our brand values. One of the sub points is evolve or die. And so we're uh, you know fortunate and blessed to be in business as long as we have. And we're in neighborhoods where we've seen entire neighborhoods turnover, and we're still there. So what's that current and emerging demand, and how do we cater to that while not losing our soul in the meantime?
So when I think about evolve, one of the things that comes to mind is innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of the things you think you've done within your concepts to try to implement some innovative things to kind of continue to evolve?
Yeah, I mean, when we first opened, and really in the early years, it was all about the food, which is obviously an important, you know, part of the three-legged stool, we like to call it. You know, Houston has some of the most discerning um, consumers out there, and there's a lot of competition,
Yeah,
more so now than I've ever seen it. And
I would agree with that.
and and we've been in some interesting environments, in particular in the last 5 years, and during the pandemic. But um, our evolution, we're focused on equally on hospitality, food, and just the environments for which we can create to bring people together and facilitate that human connection. That's where our focus is, and that's really everything's kind of in support of those three pillars that we like to wrap around the experience and be relevant and continue to put our best foot forward as a Houston restaurant group.
So you mentioned earlier, and I believe it to be true, your biggest asset is your team, your people. So what are some of the things that you do kind of through the vetting interview process, if you will, to try to make sure, because it's not perfect, that you're making the right decisions about someone that's going to be joining the team?
Sure, it's I mean, we get lots of resumes, and particularly, as we've kind of been on a bit of a growth spurt for ourselves, we're getting a lot of attention, and I mean, we've been named, best places to work, not only at local level with the Chronicle, but also USA Today since like 2017. So that's all helpful with
Yeah.
recruitment. But when it comes down to interviewing, we're looking um, probably more so culture than anything. I mean, do they align with our culture, with our brand values? Um, and we've had people that resume jumps off the page like this person's got all the technical skill sets that you would need to be successful in this particular role, but they don't have that cultural piece that aligns, and that ends up being a recipe for disaster, in my
Right.
opinion. So we really, when I interview, and we run depending on what role it is, we hire slow and fire fast is kind of our mantra, and
It's a
so we take the
well-known
time.
saying, right? And
Yeah,
it is true,
yeah,
especially the back end of that one.
that's right.
Right?
Yeah,
Nothing will erode culture faster if you don't fire fast on a cultural misfit.
yeah, that's right. And so that's what I look for when I'm interviewing, and we all kind of have our different roles on our executive team as we go about the interview process. But we're all aligned on really looking for those cultural, similarities, and whether we think this person would align with what we've got going on.
But as you grow, one of the challenges that companies face, and leaders especially, or leadership teams, is fostering and nurturing that culture, because it's easy when the smaller you are, the easier it is. The bigger you get, the more challenging it is. Anything that you're doing within the company and with your leadership team to help kind of foster and nurture the culture all the way down into the organization.
Yeah, we've doubled down on really focusing on our culture, especially as we've grown. We've added a lot more folks to our teams over the last few years. Um, it's we live and die by culture,
Yeah.
so we always look for opportunities to better keep that on the forefront of everybody's minds, starting with the hiring and recruitment process for any position in our companies and organization. Just as an example, during the pandemic, during COVID, we went from 10 restaurants at the time down to 4 doing takeout only. And so,
Wow. Wow.
so we were on a hamster wheel leading into that. And then, it's kind of like you could hear the crickets, everything kind of just, the world kind of slowed down and stopped.
I mean, a lot of people in your industry didn't survive that, right?
Yeah.
And
And you got to kind of, I mean, there was the demands changed so much. People had lots of different factors on why they needed this or that. We pivoted on a few different things and created couple new businesses during COVID to better support the communities. But more importantly, just really kind of had a chance to stop, jump off the merry-go-round a little bit, look at different aspects of our business, different departments, what the value proposition was for those departments prior to COVID, and you know, liken it to being on the Gulf Coast. A hurricane comes through and knocks your house down, and all you got's a slab. Would you build it the same way?
right.
And so the answer for me was no. And so went to work on that and really kind of started looking at some of our cost centers from a back office standpoint, and where I might be able to kind of create more value out of those areas. So, for example, we had an HR department that I created a a people and culture department that really focused not only just on the transactional aspects of HR, but also, focused on, um, being cultural champions, and that's part of your job. How do we figure out, how to instill that and really kind of make that better as we go and more apparent. We started talking about employee life cycle and career pathing people and being able to assess them quickly if they're looking to move up, maybe where their voids are in that skill set, and how can we, help get them where they want to be if they're qualified to, you know, um, advance in their career. We're going to try to figure out how we can help them do that.
That's great. So it sounds like a real focus on investment in the team from a training opportunity standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a training department prior to COVID. I brought on a training director during COVID, and now we have a team of 5 that, I mean, you can train on anything,
Right.
And it was just in our blind spot. You throw somebody in a restaurant and give them to the manager on duty and let them teach them, and oftentimes it's a game of telephone, and sometimes you know the message that was sent was not the message you wanted them to send, or the way it was received. There was a lot of holes in it. So,
Right.
so really, to kind of standardize that, it needed to be just more organized in a way that would allow us to scale in the right way and protect our brand as we go.
So one of the things you're definitely known for is preserving Texas history, Texas heritage, and all your concepts, which is I find really cool. And what taking that to another level, what are some of the advantages you find of being a Texas-based, primarily Houston-based now business, as far as from a whether that's just you know general hospitable environment to government, et cetera, anything that you found that really play you think to your advantage?
Sure. I mean, well, I can't say enough great things about Houston. The community in Houston is it's a community that is open for people that want to work hard and are authentic about what they do, and have some humility and compassion. There's opportunity, is endless in Houston, in my opinion. Overall, Texas is a pro-business state, which makes it there's enough headwinds and just operating a business anywhere,
Right.
and just compliance and all sorts of things to keep up with. That I like that Texas is pro-business, and it's easier. It's
Yeah.
never easy, but it's an easier environment. I've got friends all over the country that are in the restaurant business that I visit with on a fairly regular basis, and it's not the same. I mean, they've got a whole set of challenges that we're not faced with here in
Right.
Texas, and then we're in an environment that we're getting a lot of out of state traffic moving here. Primarily from the West Coast and from the
Yeah.
Northeast, and
Well, we see a lot of it. I had a call yesterday, and companies moving out of that state on the far West Coast, and that we've done a ton of conversions of those kind of in all industries, companies moving out of California coming to Texas.
I mean, I can't even imagine operating in California,
Yeah.
from what I understand and read. But all that to be said, I've with that in mind, and just knowing all the influx of people we have coming in, I wanted to create a new brand, which is called Levi Goode Brand Holdings, and
Okay.
that's where Credence lives, and then
Okay.
I've got an ice house in the Pearl District in San Antonio called Otto's Ice House, and then it's also a Texas lifestyle company. I just launched a shop online a couple weeks ago, and
Okay.
it allows me to tell my story of Texas,
Yeah.
and hopefully it lands well with people, both lifelong Texans and the ones that just got here as quick as they could.
Yeah. So I'm going to follow up on kind of that branch out to the Levi Goode
Yeah.
brands,
Mhm.
and because there's got to be some challenges. So you have a brick and mortar, your bread and butter, right? Brick and mortar restaurants, uh, but through Goode Company, you're well known for online as well, and the famous pecan pie in the wooden box that we're all lucky enough to get around the holiday time around here. Uh, how, Talk a little bit as the challenges of managing kind of that online retail side versus the customer facing, brick and mortar business? Because those have to be very different in how you go about managing those.
No, absolutely, two different worlds. Our pecan pie business really started out the back of our Kirby barbecue location. After one of the oil bust in the early '80s, people got displaced and moved elsewhere to find opportunities, and would write my dad letters on, "Hey, can you send me one of those pies?" And
Yeah.
so that's really kind of how that business was born. Um, so out of the back of our barbecue place on Kirby to, I guess we're in our fifth location now, but we do everything. We bake all our pies, package them up, ship them. We have a fulfillment center, and it's all under one roof, and we do that out of Houston. And that business I would say the biggest challenge is it's so damn seasonal. I mean,
Yeah, I guess
we
so,
do
yeah.
about 85% of our business in 45 days. Between Halloween and Christmas.
Must be a lot of ovens.
Lots of ovens, lots of. It's just it's a big. It's like pushing a golf ball through a garden hose. So that seasonality has its own,
I would
unique
bet.
challenges.
From staffing to supply, the whole
above,
thing. Yeah,
all the above. So that's interesting. We're not mad at it, but it's definitely something that is a challenge.
There's no surprise when it's coming, right?
Right.
You can plan for
No,
it,
we can
but-
plan on it. So
yeah.
we got a few months every year to think through that. And then as far as restaurants are concerned, it's a personal thing, and we're in an environment that has a lot of. People don't want to spend their money in the wrong way. They don't want to be disappointed, and so
Yeah.
expectations are high. And we want to be in a position, in a place that we're able to deliver, at least on expectations, with the aspiration to exceed expectations on every interaction we have.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, as a self-prescribed foodie, I think your point. You got to have good food, but if you don't have good service, they're not going to come back. And so it's really there's no two-legged stool that works, but those two better be very strong if you're going to be a restaurant and survive, at least in Houston. Because you're right, you said it earlier. Houstonians have a lot of options for barbecue and for everything you're doing. You've got a lot of competitors.
That's right.
And it's big enough here, I think, and diverse enough that you can all be successful.
I agree. Houston's it's a dining out town, which is we love. It is. Another thing is just, we've been in business. We were in business long before the internet came out, but everybody's got one of these,
Right?
And his iPhones, and everybody is a critic, and in a good way or bad. So you better be on your game, because you're always on stage.
That's great. Yeah, I know it's true. So let's talk about leadership.
Sure.
How would you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, I lead by example. I lead with an open mind. I like to hear what other people think. I like to develop leaders, and so it was a tougher transition for me, because I in our business, you kind of wear many hats, and you grow up kind of knowing a little bit about just about everything.
Yeah.
And you're good enough at it. But I think the real catalyst for me as a leader was getting the right people in the right seats, and bringing in the subject matter experts where we needed it, and allowing our business to get a little bit more vertical in just our organizational chart, and putting people in charge of specific areas of our business that they can own, rather than me running around with my hair caught on fire, or where everybody feels like they got to come to me for decisions and answers, which is it's a bittersweet thing, because we all read the books and know that's the right thing to do, but
Right.
it's it can be difficult, especially as a younger leader, to let somebody else grab the steering wheel and drive a little bit. So
Sure.
I would say really going from being a hands-on in the business doer to being a more architect of vision, and clarity, and really strategy of where we're heading next is. I really enjoy being there, and but yeah, it's not easy to make that transition. Let somebody else drive.
Yeah, Levi, I think you hit it on the head. I think you perfectly described the journey that a successful leader has if they really want that company to grow and scale to its fullest potential. Because the entrepreneur, the could be the founder or whatever leader that is wearing all the hats, if they can't let go of that, they're going to be the biggest impediment to the full potential of the organization. It's easier said than done, and it takes a little bit of humility, right, to let those others run with it. But I think clearly you're figuring it out. But I agree with you. I think for those that are listening, that's that's the key to being able to grow and to scale and really give that opportunity to the whole organization to thrive.
Yeah, I think it absolutely attracts better talent because they get a chance to kind of show what they can do. Um, for sure, it allows me the space to focus on things that I feel like that I bring unique, what's my unique value proposition that I can contribute to what we're doing, and what am I doing right now that I don't particularly enjoy doing that somebody else might love doing.
Right.
So really kind of figuring that out and being able to focus on where I can bring the most value and contribution to our business is my focus.
The question I always like to ask people in your position is, as you were evolving as a leader, you mentioned we can read books and we all have, and there's great learning in that. We can be part of peer groups and learn, but we also learn by stubbing our toe and making mistakes. When you look back, was there a, a decision or an encounter or something where it didn't go like you wanted it to, but you learned from it, and it kind of helped reshape your mindset, and the lesson you learned from that was invaluable, even though it was maybe a hard one to learn?
Oh, there's plenty of those. There's plenty of those. I mean, I kind of liken it to cooking, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I learn the most when a recipe doesn't turn out right. That I'm working on. There's so many takeaways from that, and the same goes for, making a decision that doesn't go the way you want it, or doesn't the outcome and the results aren't the way you want it. You know, Building the time for reflection on why that worked or maybe why it didn't.
Yeah.
Has been important for me as I go, and just you know and I love giving our leaders the enough autonomy, giving them autonomy where they can also go stub their toe as well. I
Yeah.
mean, and knowing that you know there's not probably one single decision anybody's going to make that's going to totally derail us and put us out of business. Knock on wood, but you know give them enough latitude so they can learn
Yeah.
as well. So I'm a big believer in you know you've just got to make decisions and with the best information that you have available at the time, and I hope it works out well. But it doesn't often always do, and what lessons can we learn from that, and how do we move forward?
I think that time for reflection is important because for a number of reasons, obviously, but one is, like you said, you can be successful and it may have nothing to do with what you did, right? There's this thing
Right.
called luck, and
That's right.
and it's okay to have some luck every now and then, but you don't want to just keep doing something without reflecting to go, okay, why did that really go well, and what should change? How can we make it better? And I think it because so much goes on during the day, it's sometimes hard for leaders to find that time for reflection. I think you have to be intentional about it, or it won't happen.
100% agree on that. I mean, there's just always plenty to get to,
Yeah,
plenty of deadline oriented things to get to, and that's with all leaders in our organization, as I'm sure it is across the board. But I've found that's really been beneficial to me. I mean, you've got to stop and kind of gather your senses every now and again because the world just turns at a fast pace these days, and you don't want to just you know float along shallow. I want to go. I want to do some deep thinking. I want to take time to really kind of process some things, and I think that's important. That's important for me and just my sanity, but also just building that in to intentionally into my schedule,
yeah.
so I have time to do that.
Any advice you kind of give to aspiring entrepreneurs or kind of young business leaders as they're kind of starting their journey that you would one or two kind of just tidbits you kind of would pass along?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of going off of what I just said, you know, don't let ambition substitute readiness. I mean, I would say be patient with how you choose to grow your business. You know, when going back to your comment about luck, I mean, we've had plenty of things that have worked out really well for us on things we go do. But I'm also smart enough to know that it's not because we're that smart that it turned out the way we wanted it to. We just had some luck involved as well, and we're kind of in the right place at the right time on a few things, and we've been on the other side of that coin too. So, I wouldn't, you know, I would first start off with being passionate about what your product and service is. Um, you know, growing and whatever your success matrix might be, whether that's financial or otherwise. Don't lead with that. Let that be a byproduct as opposed to the reason why you're doing something. Our business, it's if you're not passionate about our business, you'll get eaten alive
Yeah.
because it's just it's hard work, as many other businesses are.
Well, to me, you're right. Passion's the key, and then that you got to be profitable to stay alive, but let that be the outcome of doing a bunch of other things right, and 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 learning to kind of pass that passion on to the people you hire, right, or find it in them so that they
Exactly.
can deliver that service and all the things that you need. So let's talk a little bit just about the different concepts, because you got several. You mentioned barbecue, how it got started,
hmm
and then that and it was evolved into I guess a restaurant and event center next door,
Right.
Armadillo Palace.
Yeah. So we had barbecue. And then during there was a savings and loan kind of blow up in the early 80s, probably 1980, that our community, basically the property where our Good Company Taqueria and Good Company Seafood sit along West Park, just off of Kirby, um, was a foreclosure property that our community bank had taken back over. Made my dad a sweetheart deal, and so that allowed for a second and third restaurant to open. That obviously couldn't do barbecue right across the street, so um, came up with those two concepts
It
over
fits
time.
in with the fishing and
Yeah,
all
that's right.
that. So I got to ask the question on the Good Company Seafood.
hmm
How did the rail car come about?
Oh, yeah. My father was from the Upper Texas coast, and so I mentioned that he liked fishing. His family. He was the youngest of five kids. His dad was a shift worker at Dow Chemical. Mother would stay at home. And so there was always more month than there was paycheck at the end of the month. So they spent a lot of time on the beach, Surfside, Bryant Beach, and would go fishing, oystering, and get all that Gulf coastal fresh seafood and cook it up at home and feed all those hungry kids. So in Houston at the time, there was if you were going to have fresh Gulf Coast seafood, you had to go to a white tablecloth restaurant. It used to be Capan's, if you remember that, on Old Spanish Trail and a few others. But there was no common person's Gulf Coast seafood place to eat that wasn't um, you know out of the back of a Cisco truck,
Mhm.
frozen. So he just thought that was a tragedy and wanted to you know create a Gulf Coast seafood restaurant that he could share with our kind of burgeoning repeat customers, and
Yeah.
so that's what we did with Good Company Seafood with that in mind. So as it goes to the train car, he wanted to create something that was kind of in that 40s, 50s style and in a diner kind of esque environment.
Okay.
And so the train car just kind of happened to be a good fit to kind of fit that aesthetic that he was looking for.
Awesome. It's a
And
great story.
he bought it up in Massachusetts out of a classified magazine ad from the old book stop, which is now Trader Joe's on West Alabama. And he figured out how to navigate that thing all by rail from Massachusetts down just on the other side of Hillstone, or we call it Houston's because that's what
Yeah.
it started with.
Yeah.
But it was the same rail line where the Barnum Bailey Circus used to run elephants in the, cars down to the summit back in the day. So he got it right across the street, and then he had a buddy that was in the crane business that set it where it is today.
Okay.
hmm
I love that story. That's awesome. So, look, I appreciate you taking time to come share your story, your family story. Like I said, there's no question it's on the Houston restaurant Mount Rushmore with, like Carrabba's and Pappas and some of those names, but y'all are right there next to them, no doubt. Uh, so, a couple things before we end on the personal side. Uh, this is going to be interesting. 'Cause I ask everybody, and you're going to be torn, but Do you prefer Tex-Mex or barbecue?
Depends on the day. I had barbecue before I showed up today.
Okay.
So
You
probably
get-
Tex-Mex tomorrow. We'll see.
Well, you get them both, right? By the way, we didn't even mention the cantina. I mean,
Yeah. So Cantina really was a spinoff of Taqueria. You know, with the rise in real estate prices and all, it was hard to do another Taqueria in the style that we have it off of Kirby. So we evolved it to Kitchen Cantina, where we could do more of a full service marg and fajita type of program, add some fun Tex-Mex plates, and build a bar. And so far, it's been well received. So we're on our 4th location now in River Oaks, at the old River Oaks Shopping Center.
it's a great location. I like the patio.
Thanks.
Yeah. So how about when you get a chance to get away from the business, a little free time? What do you like to do? What helps you kind of recharge?
It just depends on the season and what time of year it is. I mean, I like outdoors, period. So whether it's spring, summer, I like to be on the coast, Texas coast primarily, and that's really anywhere. But further south, the better. It just kind of it makes my chances a little better catching a stringer of fish. And then, in the wintertime and early kind of spring, I like to go to the ranch and drive around and watch some sunsets, maybe sit in a deer blind.
Yeah,
is kind of my keeps my sanity where it needs to be. But I like outdoors. And then as far as you know, towns around Texas, I mean, I really I like them all for all different reasons. I'm heading to Dallas tomorrow. I try to avoid Dallas if I can, but this week, I hadn't done that. So looking forward, really, I'm just kidding, but looking forward to spending a couple of days there. It's been a while since I've been to Dallas, but spent a lot of time in San Antonio, getting our place going there, and I really enjoy the magic that San Antonio's got offered. And I like them all for all sorts of different
like I
reasons.
said, they each have their own story, right?
That's
And
right.
and I can see where your concepts could be successful in any of them. That's one thing I would think as you're moving into a city other than Houston, you're up against incumbents, right, that have the same probably legacy that you have in Houston and trying to break into that. Has that been a challenge in San Antonio, or do you see that in any of your future expansion plans trying to navigate that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we're talking about. Being outside of Houston definitely poses its own set of unique challenges. I mean, there's pros and cons um, to it. With our only venture outside of Houston and San Antonio, it's a fairly unique situation that we're in with our offerings. Our location is right on the San Antonio River. We're kind of part of the overall Pearl District, which is it's just kind of in its own right. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's a really neat development.
top notch all the way around. So we've enjoyed it, but we've also had a lot of learnings along the way that we're going to apply if and when we decide to venture outside of the Houston metro area in the future. We'll be able to have those learnings with us as well.
Great. Levi, thanks again for taking the time. I know you're busy. We really appreciate it. Like I said, it's been great to hear your story and your families. And I know your dad's looking down, proud as hell at you. So congratulations.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
You got it. That's it for this episode of Building Texas Business. Don't forget to check out the show notes at BoyerMiller.com/podcast for insights and resources from today's conversation. Learn more about how Boyer Miller can help your business grow at BoyerMiller.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.